The Snake Bride, a love story, gone horribly wrong. In a small village nestled in the dense emerald forests of West Africa lived a beautiful young woman named Adanna. Her beauty was unmatched, and her grace left men and women alike in awe. Adanna, however, harbored a secret desire that she kept from the villagers. She longed for a life far beyond the modest means of her family. She dreamed of silk dresses, golden jewelry, and grand feasts. Her desire for wealth burned brighter than the sun in the dry season. The elders of the village often warned the younger generation about greed. They shared tales of spirits and creatures who lurked in the shadows, preying on those blinded by ambition. But Adanna dismissed these warnings as mere superstitions. She believed herself too clever to fall victim to such stories. One fateful day, a stranger arrived in the village. He was tall, with skin as smooth and dark as polished ebony, eyes like glowing amber, and a smile that made even the sternest hearts flutter. His name was Adanna, and he claimed to be a wealthy merchant from a distant land. Word of his arrival spread quickly, and when he began to shower Adanna with gifts, necklaces of gold, anklets of silver, and rare fabrics that shimmered in the light, her heart swelled with joy. Adanna's mother, Ijeoma, grew suspicious. "We know nothing of this man, Adanna," she warned. "Gifts can blind the eyes and bind the soul. Be careful." But Adanna paid no heed. She had made up her mind. When Adanna proposed marriage, she accepted without hesitation, her heart racing at the thought of the riches that awaited her. The wedding was a grand affair. Villagers danced and sang under the moonlight as Adanna and Adanna exchanged vows. Adanna's wealth was on full display. His attendants brought barrels of wine, trays of roasted meat, and an endless supply of colorful garments as gifts for the villagers. Adanna's family, despite their reservations, couldn't help but feel proud. After the wedding, Adanna took Adanna to his mansion deep within the forest. The path to the mansion was winding and shrouded in mist, and the trees seemed to whisper as they passed. When they arrived, Adanna was awestruck. The mansion was unlike anything she had ever seen, with towering walls of black stone, golden chandeliers, and marble floors that gleamed like mirrors. Servants, silent and efficient, catered to her every need, but their hollow eyes unsettled her. In the first few weeks, Adanna basked in the luxury of her new life. She adorned herself in the finest clothes and jewels, enjoying feasts that seemed to have no end. But soon, cracks began to appear in the facade of her perfect marriage. Adanna's absences grew longer and his demeanor colder. He often returned home with mud-streaked clothes and a strange smell, a mix of damp earth and something metallic. At night, strange noises echoed through the mansion, soft hissing, the rustling of scales, and whispers that seemed to come from the very walls. Adanna tried to ignore them, telling herself it was the wind or her imagination. But deep down, a gnawing unease took root. One fateful night, curiosity overcame fear. Adanna decided to follow Adanna. She waited until he left their room and slipped after him, her bare feet silent on the cold marble floors. Adanna descended a spiral staircase hidden behind a tapestry in the dining hall, one she had never noticed before. Each step took her deeper, into the earth, the air growing colder and heavier with each passing moment. At the bottom, she entered a vast cavern bathed in an eerie green glow. Strange symbols adorned the walls, pulsating faintly as if alive. Adanna stood in the center, his back to her. He began to chant in a language Adanna did not recognize, his voice deep and guttural. Suddenly his body convulsed, and Adanna watched in horror as his form twisted and changed. His legs fused together, his skin shimmered and hardened into scales, and his eyes glowed like molten gold. Her husband was no longer a man but a massive serpent, a creature of ancient and malevolent power. Adanna's breath hitched, and she stumbled back, knocking over a small stone. The sound echoed through the cavern, and Obinna's serpentine head snapped toward her. For a moment, their eyes locked, and in that moment, Adanna knew her life was in danger. She fled up the stairs, her heart pounding in her chest. When she reached their bedroom, she locked the door and collapsed to the floor, trembling. She could not unsee what she had witnessed. The man she had married was no man at all, but a creature from the underworld. The next morning, Obinna confronted her. "You saw me last night, didn't you?" he asked, his voice calm but laced with menace. Adanna tried to deny it, but the truth was written on her face. Obinna's expression darkened. "Curiosity has a price," he said. "You vowed to love me no matter what. Did you mean it?" Terrified, Adanna nodded. "Yes, I meant it," she whispered. Obinna's lips curled into a sinister smile. "Then prove it," he said. "Meet me in the cavern tonight." When midnight arrived, Adanna descended into the cavern, her heart pounding with dread. Obinna waited, his serpentine form coiled around a stone throne. Around him were piles of bones, human bones, and the air was thick with the stench of decay. "You must join me in my true form," he hissed. "If you do, you will gain wealth beyond your wildest dreams. If you refuse—" His tail lashed out, shattering a nearby pillar. "You and your family will pay the price." Tears streamed down Adanna's face as she fell to her knees. "Please, spare them," she begged. "I will do whatever you ask." Obinna's eyes glinted with satisfaction. "Very well, but first, you must shed your humanity." Before Adanna could respond, Obinna's tail wrapped around her. She screamed as scales spread across her skin, her bones cracking and reshaping. The transformation was excruciating, her cries echoing through the cavern. When it was over, she looked at her reflection in a pool of water and gasped. She was no longer human, but a half-serpent, her once beautiful face now a grotesque blend of human and reptile. Obinna laughed, his voice echoing like thunder. "Now you are mine, forever." But Adanna's horror quickly turned to rage. She lunged at Obinna, her new form granting her strength she never knew she had. The battle was fierce, the cavern trembling with their fury. In a desperate move, Adanna struck a weak point in Obinna's chest, and with a deafening roar, he collapsed into ash. As Obinna's lifeless body dissolved, the mansion began to crumble. Adanna barely escaped, slithering through the forest. When she returned to her village, her family and friends recoiled in fear. They drove her away, their cries of horror haunting her as she disappeared into the wilderness. Adanna's story became a cautionary tale, a warning to those blinded by greed. It is said that she still roams the forests, her serpentine form a reminder of the price of ambition. On moonlit nights, villagers claim to hear her mournful wails, a chilling sound that sends shivers down the spine. And so, the tale of the snake. Bride was passed down through generations, a spine-chilling reminder that wealth can come at a cost too great to bear.